Hello there, my name is Gary Tomlinson. As I said, we'll be doing a DVD showing the secretarial side of the Taurus ETS system. I'll be going on to show you the full installation side. It will be very detailed, so you'll never have a problem with it whatsoever. We'll start by, I'll show you what equipment you actually need to start off with. You get the Taurus CD disc. This is the 1.44 version. You get a USB converter inside here. If you open this package, there is a little small disc which sits between the cardboard. That's to install the driver for the USB converter. We have a PC cable and we have a 15 to 9 pin connector. All them three joined together, which then go on to connect to the Taurus clock. That's how you get the information from the PC into the clock. As I said, I will show you that step by step, so it will all become self-explanatory. I'm going to move on now by installing the two discs, which is the first thing we need to do to get started on the program. Okay, so I've put the disc into the driver. What we do is we double click on My Computer on your PC. That brings up a list of icons, and as you'll see there, it clearly says CD-ROM 1.44. Double click that. That brings up a whole list of icons. A lot of these are just manuals telling you exactly how to do things. The one that we want to concentrate on is the setup. It's just disappeared off the screen. It will be back very shortly. I assure you. There we go, it's returned. So the one we want is the one that says setup, so double click on that and it'll start to install it. As you can see, it says preparing to install. This PC is slightly slow, it is 4 to 5 years old and it has got a lot of information stored on it. As it says, the wizard will install the Taurus Club software on your computer. To continue, click next. So we click next, and as you can see, it's starting. As you can see, it has now successfully installed it. So all we need to do now is click finish and take the disk out of the driver. So we'll do that, and then we'll move on to installing the second disk which we need to install. Okay. Right, what we've done now is I've put the small disk into the driver, and it's brought up a list of different USB converters. The one we need to concentrate on, as you can clearly see, is that one. So it's the top one here. And what you do is you double click on the envelope where it says product driver, and it brings you a list of 4 more up: Mac, manual, Windows and Linux. The one we need is we double click on Windows, and it's brought 3 more icons up where it says Win 98 2000 XP, which I know that is the one for this computer. If it was on the other computer, it would be the Windows Vista one which you would click on. So what we do is we double click on the first one, and it brings you 2 options: PL2303 driver and the SETCOM. What SETCOM means is each USB porthole on a PC is a COM port setting. Obviously, as you can see, that will plug into one of the USB portholes. Thus it will need set into a COM port. But what we're first going to do, we're going to install the driver. So we double click on the first one, PL2303. You can see it's starting to look at things. The install shield wizard will install PL2303 USB to serial. To continue, click next. So all we do is just click the next button. As I said, it is slightly slow, this PC. It clearly says that it's installed it. So all we need to do now is click on finish. But now we're going to click on COM port to set the COM. Double click that. And you'll see right down in the bottom corner there, we've got the icon come up and it says no USB. What that means is it wants me now to plug this into the PC. So on the side of the computer is the USB port holes. That's now plugged in as it says. And what we do is we double click on that icon and you've got an whole list of COM ports here, as you can see. So I'm going to put a dot there. It says USB to serial controller in COM port 4, so it's set to COM port 4. So all we do now is press set, and now we can close this down by just clicking on the crosses, and then we'll remove the disk and we'll move into the Taurus program. So I'll take the disk out and then we'll move on. Okay, we're going to move on now and we're going to input a club into the Taurus program. You see the icons there and a fancier along to it. You do exactly the same for each fancier. So to start off with, we double click on Taurus club. That brings us up a small box that says Taurus club software 1.44. It's got Shield and club already inputted because obviously that's my own club. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start from scratch. So I'm going to click on club and click on show, and it shows you that one. So if there was no clubs installed, it would say no clubs just there. So you go back to club and you click on add. So I'm just going to make a club up. So we'll go DY1111 and where it says name, click in there and we'll call it Stone Broom Flying Club. Abbreviate the FC, and here is which union you come under. Now we know it's preset for RPRA, but if it were any HU, you just click on there and a black dot to go into there. NWHU for Northwest Open Union, black dot in there. But we know it's RPRA. So once we've done that, we press save. That club has now come on the PC screen. What we need to do now is we need to click on that club, and as you'll see, it's jumped up a line. Exactly right what it should do. So now we're going to click on fancier, and the only one highlighted is show, so we click on show and it says no fanciers. So we're going to input a fancier. So it's fancier, and the only one highlighted now is add. You click add and you'll see it's come up with a list of boxes: loft number, name, address, latitude and longitude. You can ignore the longitude and latitude, that doesn't matter because all distances are now worked out on loft numbers. So I'll use my own name and my own loft number, which I know is DY1453. And the flying name, so we just click on, is G and A Tomlinson. And the address is 63. Get the 6 back there. Cleveland Road, Stone Broom. Derby's. So all that information is inputted, double check it, and all you need to do now is press save. And you'll see DY1453 G&A Tomlinson has now come on the computer screen. The next thing we do is we need to register the pigeons to that partnership, but first of all you click on the name, which is, or on the loft number DY1453, and you'll see it jump up. It'll go up here, which you'll see G&A Tomlinson. It's gone straight outside of there. What we do now is we click on pigeon, and the only one highlighted is show, so we click on show and it clearly says no pigeons. So we click on pigeon and we click on add. All down here is the different France, Germany, GB, Malta, etc, etc. That gives you, it shows you how the ring should be inputted onto the PC. So we'll start, I'll just start by a GB. So it's GB, and we'll call them all 09 pigeons, but if they're 07 pigeons, you just type in 07. But we're going to call them 09, so it's 09. And where it says Federation, this is a bit misleading. Federation means the letter. So if it's an A ring, a B ring, a C ring, whatever. So just for example, I know that the National Flying Club rings are N rings, which a lot of mine are, so I'll go N. And you'll see the N comes in there. Just tab it down to the next line, and just for example, we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pigeon's ring number again made up. The sex, which is self-explanatory, C for cock, H for N. And the colour, where it says colour there, you have to abbreviate it. So if it's a blue pied, it's BLPD. Checker pied, CHPD. So we'll call this one a blue pied, it's BLPD. And what this is here at the bottom, where it says count, if these rings were numerical, so for example, we had 1, 2, 3, 0, 0, and the last ring would be 1, 2, 3, 49, you could input 50 there, and it would add you 50 rings automatic. But we're not going to that, we're going to do it one at a time. So all you do when you've got the right information on for the first pigeon, you click add. And for the second pigeon, if you see it's gone to 46 now, so we could say it's his nestmate, but we'll just change colour to checker. CHEQ. And we click add. The next pigeon is an NEHU pigeon. So we go NEHU 09. So we'll just call it for MT, mid-time, for example. And we'll go 1, 2, 2. It's N, this one. So change that to H. And this time it's a blue one. So that's a blue pigeon. And all you do is click add. And you can see it's gone to 1, 2, 3. But we'll change this one this time to Hetten Federation, so it'll be HET. Change the number to 144. We'll leave it as a hen, but we'll call this one is a red one. So it's just RED. And you just click add again. As you'll see, the black dots move down to, because we're putting an NEHU pigeon in. The next pigeon we'll put in is a Belgian pigeon. So we'll go Belgium, which is BELG. It's an 09. Skip the lettering because we don't have any letters and go straight onto the number. So we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 7, sorry. And we'll have this one as a cock. And it is a checker pied. CHPD, checker pied. And we click add. And it's gone on to 68, so we'll add that as well. So that's roughly 6 pigeons we've added. This one is a Northwest Oman Union pigeon, so it's NWHU 09 BT, and it's 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a cock, and this time it's a red pied. And you click add, and it's brought 46 up, so we'll add that as well. When you've inputted all the pigeons that you need to input, you then click the cancel button, and you'll see all the birds are here on the computer screen. What we need to do next is get the birds from the computer into the Taurus clock, of which there's 2 ways of doing that. I will show you both ways. So I'm now going to connect the relative cables together, and we'll get these 8 pigeons from the computer screen into the clock. Okay? Okay, so here we are. We're going to get the information from the PC into the Taurus clock. Inside the USB converter package, where the small disc was, you'll see a cable like this all coiled up. This cable I use all the time. It's just an extension to the USB converter. So we'll just reconnect that together. And instead of plugging the USB converter directly into the PC, we plug the short cable into the PC. Here is the Taurus power supply with a connector which goes into the side of the clock, which you will need for getting the information from the PC to the clock. they are the two cables, as I said, which you need, which all connect together. I've got the two cables and connected them together, which again, self-explanatory. There's the short cable, this is the PC cable. That connects to that. Then we connect the PC cable to the USB converter. There's another cable. What we do now is the Taurus clock is here. Fantastic construction, fantastically manufactured. Is you plug the 15-pin connector into the top of the clock. It's the only one way it can go. As you can see, there is no power to the clock. I'm going to show you the quickest way of getting the information from the PC to the clock first. And this is what we do. First of all, you click on program and you click on set, and you can see there's a tick on the COM port 4 and there's a tick in that box. If I move this along, the USB converter along to the next USB port on this PC, that will have a different COM port. So we click on program, click on set, and it's brought up COM port 9. So we'll leave it in COM port 9 and just press save. So what we need to do now, the quickest way is we put the power lead in the side of the clock and it lights up. It's irrelevant what name is on there, and you press start on the clock and you press number 3, and as you'll see it says con/PC and a list of numbers. What you do next is you click on communication. You highlight communication on the PC, which is there. As you can see, the top one says send loft from the PC to the terminal. We select send loft PC to terminal. You've heard the clock bleeped. It now says G&A Tomlinson DY1453 assignment. That means the clock's gone straight into assignment mode, because all these birds now need an ETS ring number. But I'm going to show you the second way of getting the information from the PC. There's two ways you can do it. So this time we'll take the power lead out the side of the clock and it's gone blank again. The second way you do it is you click on terminal on the PC, which is clearly there, and that brings up a list of boxes, because if you were loading two fancies you'd have to do it this way anyway. So we are at the top one. The clock is a Taurus Compact XL and we're only loading one fancier. So it brings up a square box. If there was a blue line racing through that box now, it would mean that the COM port needs resetting. So you'd cancel it and go back to program, and you'd move the USB converter into a different port hole and then press save. It's a common fault, because the best thing to try and remember is try and use the same COM port on the PC every time, and then you won't get mixed up and won't have to keep resetting the COM ports. What we do this time to load the clock is we hold the number 6 in on the clock, and we keep the number 6 pressed in, and we put the power lead in the side, keeping 6 pressed in, and as you'll see a blue dotted line started going across the PC screen. We can now take the finger off number 6, and we'll just let that blue line, it will load itself going across the computer screen. When it reaches the other side of the computer screen, you will hear the clock bleep again. So we'll just wait. It takes roughly 35 to 40 seconds to load, but you will then be aware of the two ways you can get the information from the computer into the clock. As I said, it's very easy. We're nearly there. There's the bleep. The clock says please wait. And what we do now, communication again. Click on communication. Drop down box, send loft, PC to terminal. So we just highlight that one and press left click on the PC, and the information is there again. G&A Tomlinson. What this means now is stock 8 and then 4 zeros. It means that there's 8 pigeons loaded into this clock, of which none have got an ETS ring. Today's date is the 27th of the 9th, and 14:22 and 20 seconds is the time it's picked up off the PC. So the clock could be an hour out because they come from Germany tested, but it could be 3 days out, 4 days out, because it'll only take the information from the PC. So if your PC clock is wrong, this will be wrong. But once this clock is struck against the Club Master timer, it automatically corrects itself with no problem whatsoever. But what we're going to do next is we're going to now go into the assignment program, which is the next thing you would do. So all these birds will have an ETS ring number registered next to their name, and the next thing after that is we retrieve the information then from the clock to the PC. So when we click on pigeon next time, all these birds will have an ETS ring number at the side of them. Then the last thing we ever do is we input the race points. So I will add some race points and show you that the race points go into the terminal. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the club equipment, show you how it all connects together, and we shall assign the birds. Okay? Right, here we are again. As I said to you, I'll show you exactly how to assign pigeons. But first I want to explain the equipment to you. All this equipment, including the printer, is all the club equipment. The only thing that you would have here is some rings and the clock. So I'll start by explaining things. Here is a compact interface. What the compact interface does is, inside this box at the bottom is one of these. This is the entry sensor. Also inside this box you would have, inside a little bag, 2 little grey commission rings. They're called com rings. They are very important and need to be kept safe, as you'll see the reason why when we come to mark for a race. So I'll just put them down for now. What you connect to the entry sensor is the compact interface. So we take that out of its bag, little screwdriver. Once it's connected, I always advise people to leave it connected. There's only 2 ways it can go: 9-pin to 9-pin, male to female. And what you do is you just screw it up, keeps it together. So that's his entry sensor already. In this box here is the Club Master timer. It can be wall mounted if need be, or as we do, it can just be freestanding. Nice little thing at the back. Here's the signal. As I said, that picks its signal up from Cumbria. So that is your master timer. Box out of the way. And inside here is a very important piece of kit. This is a multi-system node. As you'll see, it's got various portholes on it. Quite self-explanatory. It says radio clock there, so obviously the radio clock plugs into there. It says printer there, so the printer would plug into there. And it says entry sensor there, so that is the entry sensor would plug into there. Now you can see why we've added the compact interface, because obviously that wouldn't fit into that hole there. At the bottom it says Taurus. This is where you fit the Taurus cable, which would then connect you to your clock, as I will clearly show you step by step. But there is a sequence of connecting this equipment together, and I'll repeat it and I'll keep repeating it. Is the first thing you must connect to the multi-system node is the radio clock, and it must be done in that sequence. I hear people say, yes, but I've done it in a different sequence and it works okay. It will, but guaranteeing it every time, you must connect the radio clock first. So we'll now start by connecting the equipment together. I'll move some of these boxes. to get us started, set the radio clock. So there is the mud system node, there's the radio clock, there is the plug into the radio clock porthole, and just nip it up. Okay, that's the radio clock connected. The next thing is the printer. ETS printers must be DOS compatible, they must be parallel port. In other words, have a 32 pin connector. That just fits into the back of the printer. Here is the power lead for the printer, so that goes in the power. And we'll just turn that around out of the way. And the other end of the parallel port cable plugs in where it says printer. Again, just nip it up. That's two things connected. The third thing we now connect is the entry sensor. So you can just use as much cable as you need. It has the length of cable for clubhouses, especially if the marking is quite a bit away from the electricity or whatever. So we now plug that into where it says entry sensor. I don't nip that up because it's quite a tight fit anyway. And we now put the cable in to where it says Taurus at the bottom. On here you'll see it says Bricon, Unicon, Tippers and U-knives. That's for if other people bring their clocks along with their adapters, they would plug into them portholes. But we're going to assign Taurus ETS rings to a Taurus clock. Here it says 12 volt. That is the power to power all this equipment up. There is your power supply. So we'll plug that into the mains. And you just plug that into the 12 volt power supply. We turn the printer on. And we come along with our clock, which we know has got 8 pigeons in, and we're going to give all these 8 pigeons an ETS ring. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to get my rings together and we'll go through plugging the clock in and assigning each pigeon. I will also tell you why I'm going through it, different things that can happen and different things I've seen done. For example, if I connect this clock, I'm going to take the power lead out of here. If I connect this clock to the club equipment, and I've seen this happen so many times, and put the power lead into the side of the clock and try to put the clock into assignment mode, which you do by pressing 7, it comes up with a row of things saying entry sensor. That's because the power lead is in the side of the clock and not into the porthole where it should fit. So you don't just put the power lead back in, you always disconnect the clock before doing anything. So as I said, I'll get my rings together and we'll assign them 8 pigeons. Okay, so here we are, we're ready to put these ETS rings at the side of the GB rings, assign these birds. So the power lead is connected to the club equipment, all the club equipment is connected as I've showed you what connects to what and how it goes. So we turn up and we plug our clock in, and you'll see the clock screen's lit up with my name on. 8 pigeons, so we're going to put it into assignment mode. The way you put it into assignment mode is you press number 7, and you'll see it says 7 flashing again for assign. So you press number 7 again. It's now brought up a pigeon's ring number. If you're getting the pigeons out of the basket one by one and you needed to look for the pigeon's ring number on the screen of the clock, you would press the left or the right arrow key, and that's the way it would go up. But we'll go back to his first pigeon. When you find the bird that you want to put the ETS ring on, all you do is you press the hash button and it says pigeon on the screen of the clock. You then get the ETS ring and you hold it over the entry sensor and you'll see it's now come assigned. So that ring now belongs to that pigeon, which is Belgio 9 1 2 3 4 5 6 8. So that's one ring assigned. To go to the next pigeon, you press the arrow key and there's the second pigeon. Again we press the hash button, it asks again, it says pigeon, there you go, assigned again. And the next pigeon, the third pigeon, we press hash. I'll show you what happens if you don't press hash. So we move on to the fourth pigeon. I've not pressed hash, have you noticed? And as you'll see, nothing happens. So what you need to do is press hash, it says pigeon, assigned again. And as fifth pigeon, hash, sixth pigeon, hash, seventh pigeon, hash, eighth pigeon, hash. That's all 8 pigeons assigned. All we do if you want to check is just scroll through pressing the arrow key, and it'll tell you every bird it says assigned. So what you want to do now is print out an assignment list. Usually you have one for the Federation Secretary. In the NEHU they have 3 or 4 copies. But down at the RPRA we have one for the Federation Secretary, one for the Club Secretary, and one for the fancier if need be. So all we need to do now to get it to print out our list is you press the start and you press number 8, and it's asking you how many copies you would need. It is pre-programmed for 2, but if you want 3 you just press number 3 and then you press the hash button, and it will say printing on the clock, and it will now print off 3 copies of that assignment list. So away it goes, printing the first copy. There's one copy. It may not be quite clear on the camera, but it gives you all the birds, Belg, GB, NW, HU, NEHU, the colours and everything, and down here now it clearly gives you an ETS ring number. It tells you the time and the date that each bird was given that ETS ring number. It tells you the time and the date that the clock was put into assignment mode. So there would be as 3 copies. We have 2 officials what sign it, so it's all up and above board. But what the next procedure is going to be, I'm going to show you how you get the information now as a backup from this clock back in to the PC. One other thing which I'll point out is when you first put this clock into assignment mode, if we did see it come up with 4 entry sensors on there, but I showed you that was because the power lead was in the clock and not in the multi-system node. If it happened again, it's usually that the ring entry sensor is too close to the PC, or it's close to something what's steel which is interfering with it. So just move that about before you start thinking, oh, what's wrong, what's wrong. First of all, check the power leads in the multi-system node and not in the clock. Then check that this entry sensor is not on anything steel, near anything steel, or too near to a PC. So I'm going to now move on to retrieving information from the clock back into the PC. Okay? Okay, so here we are. We're now going to get the information out of this clock back to the PC. As you can see, outside of all these pigeons on the PC screen, there is no ETS number. That's going to change when we send the information back from the PC, back from the clock into the PC. So what we do, you get the clock and just use the same cables as we did to get the information from the PC. We plug that cable into the top of the clock. We put the power lead into the side of the clock, and you'll see it's lit up and it's got my name on now, G&A Tomlinson, stock 8, but this time it says 8. That's because it now has all the mate pigeons with an ETS ring number as well. So what we do to start off with, we press the start and the 3, and you then click on communication again. On the drop down box, the second one down says get loft terminal to PC. That's the one we highlight. It will bleep, and the clock now asks for a code word. That is a password. you'll need that password to cancel your races each week. So for example, I'm going to use 4 ones on this clock. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and you press the hash key. And what we need to do now is load this clock with race points. So I'm going to input some race points on the PC, and I'm going to show you exactly how we do that. What we do, we click on race points on the PC, and we click on show, and it clearly says no race points. So we click on race point again, and this time we click the add. So number 1, we'll call this, I'll use my own race points, Stratford, which is STR. We've typed it in, forget the location, you need to put the name in, and you press add. Second race point, number 2, is we'll go to Windrush. Again, you click the add. Race point 3, we'll go to Wollavington. Then we click add. Race point 4, we go to Wincanton. And I'll just input them 4 for now. So there you can see the 4 race points. We're now going to send them race points into this clock. So this time you just press number 3, and you'll see it's come COM PC again. Click on communication. The third one down there says send race points from the PC to the terminal. Obviously the terminal's the clock. So down we go, we just click on that. It'll count to 99 on the screen. Them race points have now been transferred into this clock, so you've now got the fancier's name, all his ETS ring numbers, and all his race points. Just to show you, the ETS ring numbers are now backed up on the computer screen. Click on club, click on show, and select Stonebroom Flying Club. Click on fancier, click on show, and select G&A Tomlinson. Click on pigeon, click on show, and as you can see, they're all there. All have now got an ETS ring number outside of every pigeon. And you would do that exactly the same for every fancier. You don't do anything different to what I've shown you doing this DVD. It is dead easy, just as simple as that. Obviously, if there is ever any problems and you are struggling, that's when you telephone me and I will talk you through. If you're still not sure, then I'll jump in my car, come along and help assist you with your problem. The next thing I'm going to do now is I am now going to mark for a race on Friday night. So that will be the next thing we do. Okay? Right, here we are at the clubhouse on Friday night. All the club equipment is connected together exactly the same as you had it for the assignment program. Again, the power lead, ensure it is in the multi-system node. Here are our rings. These are our imaginary 8 pigeons. There you go with your Taurus clock along to the clubhouse. You connect the clock via the relative cable again. That lights the clock up with your name. And as I said, it can be out on the time, don't worry about that. When we strike it for a race very shortly, it will automatically correct itself. So what you do to put it into race marking is you press the 7, and you'll see it says confirm by pressing hash. So we press the hash and we press the 7 again. It's now saying com ring. Remember I said the 2 little grey rings are very important, don't lose them. Here we have the commission ring, so you hold that over the entry sensor, it bleeps and the numbers come up. You next press hash. It's now asking you for a race point. Which race point are you racing? Well, it only gives you 2 on the screen of the clock. If you was racing a race point, say 9, 10, 11, it will hold 99 race points, so don't worry about inputting too many race points. You just press the hash to find the race point, and you use the down arrow key. That takes you down to the race points. We know we've only put 4 in, but you could go down as many as you wanted. So we'll just, for example, race point 4. When you found the race point you want to race, so we're racing number 4, you just press the hash key. And it's now saying entry. That's now ready for us to enter birds. So our first bird is got out the basket, given to one of the handlers, and he holds its leg over the entry sensor. and you'll hear the clock has bleeped. Okay, so we then put that bird into the crate to go to the race, the second bird, and the third bird, and the fourth bird, and the fifth bird, and the sixth bird, and the seventh bird, and the eighth bird. So we've now entered 8 birds into our practice race. We now need to set the clock against the master timer, strike it off. So what we do is you press the start and you'll see the screen's gone and it's come back. When it's come back, you press the start again and number 3 is flashing. So all you need to do is you just need to press the hash key, and it's asking you to confirm you want to set the clock, so you press the hash key again. The clock has bleeped, so it's picked up the master timer, and all you need to do to strike is just press the hash. We next press number 8. Number 8 is flashing on the screen of the clock, so it's number 8, and it's asking for the race point. Well, we know it's race point 4, but if you'd forgot, all you'd do is you just press the hash and you'd scroll down till you found the race point you want to race. We're now at win counter number 4, just press hash. It's pre-programmed to print off 2 copies. If you wanted more than 2 copies, you'd just input 3, then hash, 4, then hash, whatever, but we'll just do the 2 copies as it's programmed to do. So all we do is press hash, and it says printing. So it will now print off your 2 race entries. The great thing about this clock is all you need to do now, after it's printed out, is unplug the clock from the club equipment, take it home, and once it's plugged in and the power's in the side, it will set itself to time birds in, as I will clearly show you. The next thing we will do is we'll move on to timing the birds in. But on the printed off sheet, what you're looking for is the race point is right, which we know it is number 4 Wincanton. All 8 birds are entered. Today's the 27th when they were entered. They were entered at 14, 55 and 30. It tells you every pigeon. But the 2 things you're looking for is this at the bottom here. You've got time set, which was on the 27th, 14, 56 and 40. That's the master timer reading. Your clock reads 14, 56 and 40. So it's a dead clock. All that needs to happen now is the clock committee needs to sign it there, the fancier signs it there. So we're now going to set up at the loft, imaginary loft should I say, 2 timing birds. Okay? Here we are, Saturday morning. The birds have been liberated. We've estimated the time they're going to arrive, so it's now time to plug the clock in. As I said to you, you don't have to touch a thing on this clock. It will set itself within 10 seconds to time birds in. If you want it to set immediately, you just press the number 4, which I'll show you. I'll show you both ways. So the first thing you connect is the clock to the sensor pad. It's a 22-inch sensor pad. You put either the power lead, which would be directly off the mains, or off a 12-volt battery. It will power 4 sensor pads without needing a boost power supply. That's the quality of the product, and that's including if you're using car battery lead. So put the power lead in the side. I don't know if it'll zoom in enough to be able to see number 4 is flashing on the clock screen. As I said, if you press that number 4 now, it'll set immediately. But I want to show you that the clock sets itself without having to press anything in 10 seconds. It's now ready to time in birds. And on the clock screen it will say the date and the time, which is continuously going, and it'll say race timer 01 sensor. That means we've just got 1 sensor pad connected to the clock. If you had more than one, it would say 02, 03, 04 and so on. So the first bird comes home, goes over the pad and into the loft, and the time and the pigeon's ring numbers come up on the screen of the clock. Second bird and the third bird. I'll just put the clock down and try and get you 2 on the same second, and 2 more, and the last one. So all 8 birds are now timed in. If you want to see what time the first birds arrived, you just use this right arrow key as I'm looking at the clock, and you scroll back, going 1 at a time, and it takes you right back to the first bird. If you was doing that and another bird arrived, it wouldn't make any difference, it would still time it on. If you pressed the wrong button on this clock, for example you press number 5, it sent the clock screen funny. All you need to do is take the power lead out the side of the clock, put the power lead back in the clock. I'm just showing it will lose no information at all. As I said, if we press number 4, which I'm going to do, it sets itself automatic. It'll go back now to the last bird timed in. So there's the ring number of the last pigeon. So you don't lose any data whatsoever. The only way you'll lose data out this clock is if you dropped it in a bucket of water, or as we sometimes feel like doing with these pigeons, you threw it at the wall. But that's timed in 8 birds, that's perfect. If it was 2 races on the same day, it would still time in exactly the same, no problem whatsoever. The next thing we need to do is go to the clubhouse on Saturday night and print off the arrival times of our pigeons, and hopefully we've got the winning pigeon. So what I'm going to do now is go back, get the club equipment back up together, and we'll strike the clock off as you would normally on Saturday night, and you'll see that's where the password comes in, because the clock has to be cleared every week so you can use it the following day for training and the following week for racing. Even if you don't time in, when you go to the clubhouse on Friday night, make sure you tell the officials it hasn't been struck off from the previous week. They will then go through the Saturday night striking off procedure, which we're going to do very shortly, before they try and mark pigeons again. Okay, so we'll move on. Right, here we are, Saturday night at the clubhouse. One important factor I must point out is the club equipment's connected exactly the same again. But again, remember, you connect the radio clock first. The good thing about the radio clock and the Taurus system is there's no walking around outside to get a radio signal. The radio signal is received immediately. If it runs for 2-3 days, 3 weeks, whatever, it still is perfect. The radio time is perfect. You get an immediate radio signal, that's the main thing. I hear too many people saying, oh, we've had to wait 45 minutes for a radio signal, we're having to plug club equipment in before we go to the clubhouse. There's none of that with this, it's immediately there. But then again, when you've been at ETS business 17 years, I think if it wasn't working correctly, they'd have been out of business a long time ago. But anyway, going back to striking your clock off. Club equipment connected exactly the same. Plug the clock in to the club equipment. Number 3 will come up on the screen, which it has done. Control clock. So all we do, number 3 is flashing, so we just press the hash. It says confirm by pressing hash again, so we press hash again. The clock's bleeped, so it's picked up the radio signal, so we can now strike it off. We just press hash again. Number 8 is flashing for print, so you press number 8. And it's asking for the race point number. Now the race point number, if you forgot, is on your entry list, but if you wanted to find it, you just press the hash. Use the down arrow key till you got to number 4, because we know it's Wincanton. When you find it, you just press hash. Again, it's pre-programmed to print off 2 copies, but if you wanted more, you just put 3, 4, 5 and press the hash after, because then it would print off as many as you needed. But we'll just use the 2 again, so we just press the hash and it's printing me off 2 copies of the birds that I have timed in from Wincanton. The important thing now about after this printing out is clearing this clock. If there was more than one race in this clock, you would just disconnect it from the club equipment. You would not put the password in, and I repeat, you do not put the password in if there's more than one race in this clock. If you know you're behind, for example in the National, and you're not bothered about having the second race printed off or taking it to another club, then you would just input the password so it clears it. But we'll just look at the sheets, if we can zoom in far enough. It's got all the arrivals of your pigeons, which we've got here, 2 on the same second, 21, 21, so that was pretty good with me swiping them over. The 2 times you're looking for is here. Time set on the 27th, 14, 56 and 40. Your clock read 14, 56 and 40. On Saturday night, 15, 10, 28. Your clock read 15, 10, 28. So it's a dead clock. And it says there, sensors 001. That means you've just had 1 sensor pad connected. So all the information is there that we need. So it is now safe to clear this clock so these birds could be used for training again, because if you didn't clear the clock now and you sent them birds away for a training flight which was stored in this clock now from this race, it wouldn't time them in because it needs to empty it. So what you do is you press number 6 and it asks us for the code word, in other words the password, which we put in, if you remember back when we was using the PC. I know it's 4-1, so just go 1, 2, 3, 4 and we press the hash. That clock is now empty and them rings, them birds and that will now be okay to train. They'll be okay to go the following week. As I said, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how you mark for 2 races on the same day, and I'm also going to show you what happens if you try to enter a pigeon twice, because that is a common factor that a clock or a bird, believe it or not, tries to get entered in 2 races, and I'll show you that it doesn't allow it. Okay, so the next thing we'll do is 2 races on the same day. Thank you. Right, here we are again. As I said, I would show you how to mark for 2 races on the same day. Normally this happens when you're racing the national, say you'd mark on a Thursday for one and your own club on a Friday. If you're going along to the national marking station using a different club marking equipment, for example say it was a Unicon, you'd have one of these adapters, which is Untitled adapter. Plugs to the top of your clock, and the other end would plug into the Unicon club equipment. Just same as what if they was using Taurus at the national marking, which does happen. A Unicon will plug into the porthole on our multi-system node where it says Unicon. So anyway, here we go. We'll mark for the first race. You mark exactly the same as you would any other time, say Friday night. So you connect the clock to the club equipment either via the Untitled lead, or if you're plugging straight into the Taurus, and the clock lights up. So again, to mark for a race, it's 7 #7. It asks for the commission ring, which I've got here. If you was marking on a Unicon, you would use the Unicon commission ring, but we're using Taurus. So it's bleeped, and after it's bleeped, you just press the hash, commission ring down, and it's asking for the race point. So we'll just use number 1. So you press 1 and hash. It's now asking for your 10 pigeons for the first race. First pigeon out of the basket, that's the first one entered, that's the second one entered. We'll just enter them 2. If you was entering 4, 5, 6, 10, 20, you just do exactly the same. So we're now going to strike this clock. You mark the clock exactly the same no matter what club equipment you're using. So it's start, wait for the main menu to reappear, which is now done, start again. Number 3 is flashing for set clock, so you just need to press the hash. Press the hash again. It's bleeped. It's picked up the radio signal, just press hash again to strike it. Number 8 to print it off. We know it's race point 1, so we just put number 1 and hash. Pre-programmed for 2 copies, so if you wanted to have 2, you just press the hash. We only need 1 this time, so we just put in number 1 and the hash. And it's now printing off the race entries for your first race. And there we go, there's your race entry sheet for the first race. Master time readings are at the bottom. Everything's fine, so it's safe to disconnect the clock. And we'll come back to the clubhouse on Friday night. So, just for example, it's now Friday night and we're going to mark for a second race at his own club, or any club. So what you do, again, you plug the clock in either via the Untitled lead or into his own Taurus club marking equipment, and the clock screen will say, if you can see this, it will say 5 for view, 8 for print. You ignore that and you press number 7 and you press the hash. It's asking again for the commission ring. As I said, after the commission ring's bleeped, you just press the hash, and it's asking for the race point number. So now we can't use the same race point number as the first race. So what you do is we'll just say put in number 4, as we know number 4 is Wincanton, and we press the hash. It's now asking me to enter the birds for the second race. Again, we'll just enter them too. And you go through the same procedure as striking the clock off. So it's start, wait for the main menu to come back on, start again. Number 3 is flashing, so just press the hash. Hash again. The clock's bleeped. Hash again. Number 8 now to print it off. We know it's race point 4. Press the hash. It asks you for number of copies again, we only need 1. And then press the hash. It's now printing off the entries for the second race. As I said, for the timing of the pigeons you don't have to press anything at all. All we'll do now is we've now marked for both races. Everything's there, the 2 master timer readings are there, your clock readings there. There isn't a problem at all with that race entry. So all we need to do now is just disconnect the clock. What we'll do now is we'll go back to his loft, ready to time in from these 2 races on Saturday morning. So I'll now get the loft equipment set up. Okay? Right, here we are, Saturday morning at the loft. We've got 2 races on today. The birds in England have been held quite a while because it's quite misty. The birds in France have been up, there's a good chance both sets of birds could arrive together. So what we do, connect the clock to the sensor pad, power lead in the side of the clock, or car battery connectors. Don't need to touch anything, it'll set itself in 10 seconds to time birds in. Or you just press number 4. Exactly the same procedure as I said before. There we go. Race timer 01 sensor. So for example we have 1 bird from one race, 1 bird from another, come together and there they go. The next pigeon is timed in and the next one. Okay, so all 4 birds are timed in. If you want to check them again, just scroll back using the right arrow key as I am looking at the clock and back up. Birds jump backs on the pad, it won't work again, it'll only work once. As I said, any birds left in the loft, jump on the pad, doesn't work, it'll only time the birds in which have gone to the race. If one comes back from the previous week, it won't time it in, it only times the birds gone to the race. So we now need to go back to the club and print off our 2 races, 1 at one club, 1 at another. It's a slightly different procedure, so I will show you. So we'll disconnect the clock and go back to the clubhouse. Okay? Right, okay. Here we are at the clubhouse. Saturday night we're going to print off our first race. So again, no matter what club equipment you're using, connect it via the relative connections. And we'll see number 3 come up on screen of this clock, flashing. So all we need to do is press hash again to confirm it. The radio clock's bleeped and picked the signal up, so all we need to do again is press the hash. Number 8 to print off. Now we can take this pick, do we want to print number 4 or number 1 off first? We'll mark number 1, number 4 second, we'll print number 4 off. It's asking you for number of copies, we only need 1. And it's printing them off. So the birds which went to Wincanton are NWHU 09BT 2346, a red pie cock, and Belgium 9 123467. And the birds which it's timed in, as I said, we had our birds arriving together from each race. It's timed in NWHU 09BT 2346, which you can clearly see they are, and the second bird is Belgium 9 12346567, which you can clearly see the same birds that went to the race. Master timer Friday night read 15:43:57. Your clock read 15:43:57. Saturday night 15:50 and 30. Your clock read 15:50 and 30. So it's a dead clock. Same procedure. 01 sensor. Now you'll see how important it is we don't input the password. If you input the password now, it will wipe the second race off. So all you need to do, disconnect it from the club equipment. We arrive at our second club to print off our second race birds, and you do things slightly different. Connect it exactly the same to the club equipment. This time we press the start. and we press number 4. We press the hash. We press the start again, and number 3 will now come up, which it's doing, it's flashing on number 3, so you just press the hash again. You've heard the bleep, so it's safe to press the hash again. Number 8 to print off the second race, which this time is going to be number 1. Press the hash, number of copies, we only need 1. Press the hash, and away it goes. And the birds which were entered in this race were GB09N 12345 and NWHU 09BT 2345. And the birds which it has timed in is NWHU 09BT 2345, which is the same one that went to the race, and GB09N 12345. And the times of these pigeons, because we did try and get them arriving together, as you'll see, Stratford, Wincanton, the arrival times of the pigeons was 15:47:23, 15:47:23. So the two birds, one from each race, arrived together, timed on the same second, but the clock knew which birds had gone to which race. Absolutely fantastic. It is now safe to input the password, because remember, we may need to race these birds the following week. They won't be accepted. It'll come up on here, already entered. So what we do is number 6, password 1111, and then the last thing we do is we press hash. That clock is now clear. All them birds, the 2 races, have been wiped clear. The good thing about this as well is, as well as the DVD, you get the Pigeon Fancier's Guide to Friday night marking, Saturday night marking, assigning of pigeons, and getting information from the PC. We've made the DVD because you can actually see what I'm pressing, what I'm touching on the PC, but as I said, everybody gets a copy, is what I call, without being disrespected for anybody, the Idiot's Guide to Working the ETS. It tells you exactly how I've explained it to you, step by step. It was put together by myself, so it's in Pigeon Man's terms, and you will clearly understand it. I hope that you've found this DVD very good, and it tells you exactly what you need. If at any time anything on the clock screen it says something that it shouldn't say, then pick the telephone up and ring me. I'm available 24 hours a day, 52 weeks a year. I'm going to mark one race quickly, and I'm going to disconnect the radio clock, so it's definitely going to say on the clock screen no radio clock. I'm going to show you how to set it manually. Right, okay, I did say I would show you how to set the clock manually. This will only need to be done if essential maintenance is being done at Cumbria, which usually is only done on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, but just in case it was to happen. So I'm going to disconnect the radio clock completely, so we know it's definitely going to come up no radio signal. So that's the radio clock disconnected. The exact same procedure we go through. Connect the clock to the club equipment. We go 7#7. Commission ring. That's bleep, just press the hash. Race point, we use number 2. It's the hash. And it's asking for us to enter as birds. So first bird, second bird. We'll just enter them 2 because the main objective is to show you how to set the clock manually. So we go start, main menu back on, start again. Number 3 is flashing, so we just go through the same procedure. Hash, hash, and it'll come up no radio clock. You can see that on the screen of the clock now. Clearly says no radio clock. We press the hash to agree with it. And today is the 27th of the 9th. So we agree with that by pressing the hash, and it jumps to the time. Use the radio clock, it's the 16th hour, the 15th minute, and we'll set it for 55 seconds. So we'll now wait till the radio clock reaches 55 and we strike the clock. It's now on 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, strike it. You've heard it bleep, so we've struck the clock. We're now going to print the time off, sorry, the entries off. So it's number 8, the race point's number 2, press hash. One copy is enough, press hash. It's now printing off the race entries. I will show you how you know it's been set manually. Here we go. 2 birds entered. Master timer on 27th read 16, 15, 55. Your clock read 16, 15, 55. And it's got a H there, which shows it's been set manually. That's what that H means, it's been set manually. But again, a dead clock, no problem whatsoever. So now we're going to move on to timing these 2 birds in at the loft, and then we'll come back and print off the arrivals of the pigeons. Okay? Right, here we are at the loft Saturday morning. We're going to time these 2 birds in, because the objective of this is to show you the clock works fine and you can set it manually. So power leaving the side of the clock. I'm not going to wait 10 seconds. Press number 4 and away it goes, it's ready to time in. First bird, second bird. So now it's back to Club Saturday night to strike them 2 arrivals off and strike off the clock against the master timer. So we'll now go back to the clubhouse. Okay? Right, here we go. We're back at the club on Saturday night. The objective, as I said, is to show we've set the clock Friday night without any master timer, without a radio signal, and we're now going to print off the arrivals of these 2 pigeons. So you plug the clock in as normal. Number 3 will come straight up. So it's just a case of pressing the hash again. Clock's bleeped, it's just hash again. Number 8 to print it off. We know the race point's number 2. Press hash. 1 copy will do. Press hash. And it will now print off the arrivals of those 2 pigeons. As I said, the main objective is to show the clock can be set manually. Okay, if we can zoom in and get this, it'll be perfect. The timing in another 2 pigeons is there. 16, 18, 33, 16, 18, 35. Friday night the clock was set at 16, 15, 55 and your clock read 16, 15, 55. H means it's been set manually, and on Saturday night 16, 20 and 36 seconds. Your clock read 16, 20 and 36 seconds. So as you can see, it works absolutely perfect. I'll now clear the clock, 6 and the 4 ones, and hash. The clock is now empty. Just another troubleshooting thing for you. If when you come to print out, it comes up printer error on the screen of the clock, that's usually 2 things. Either the printer's out of paper or there's a paper jam in it. So they're the 2 things to look for. Slide the paper tray out, back in, ruffle the paper up with your fingers, or just take the back off the printer and see if there's any paper jammed. If ever at any time something does come on screen of the clock that shouldn't be there, then you pick the telephone up and you telephone me. But providing you follow the instructions on this DVD, you also get a manual put together by myself which tells you how to mark pigeons on Friday night, strike them off Saturday night, how to assign pigeons. It's what I call the idiot's guide to using the ETS. I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. It was put together by myself, who I've been often called an idiot, so that's why I call it that. And I'm quite sure that you'll find it very helpful and you will have no problems whatsoever. But if you do, you can ring me 24 hours a day, 52 weeks a year. But such is the quality of the Taurus ETS system. They've been in the business for 17 years. Now after 17 years, if the system, as we could say, was rubbish or US, then I'm quite sure they'd be out of business. The company has always been owned by Mr. Eckhard Reuter, as I've said before, he's a family man. The sales manager is a lady called Christina Yanko, who
is very, very helpful, and nothing is too much trouble. The sponsorship which we've done for the young fanciers, etc. Whenever we've been asked to sponsor nationals, we've always sponsored them. We've offered free club equipment for national marking stations, for Midlands national marking stations, NEHU marking stations, Irish Roman Union marking stations. So as you can see, we are prepared to do our bit towards compatibility and towards people having a choice of which ETS they want to use. But remember, 17 years in the business, that should tell the fancier something. I could have had any system I wanted. I chose the best. Taurus ETS. Once again, thanks very much.